Just in terms of content trends over the next year, HubSpot carried out a survey around what content formats people are going to invest in this year. People are going to invest in long form content, short form content, and audio content. So what does that actually mean? So their study suggested that the majority of companies this year are going to invest in short form videos. So that's your 5-second, 10-second videos, which relates to TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. So a lot of people are going to invest in those short form videos. They're also going to invest in long form videos, so 2-3 minute videos as well as live audio chat rooms. So we can see that's obviously related to the likes of Clubhouse, which is I suppose the latest social media trend, again increasing popularity over the last number of years during lockdown and so on, where people could go into audio rooms and listen to experts and so on. People are also going to invest in memes and infographics, which would be that longer form of content. And as I said, we've seen the rise of TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube. And we've also seen that short form content in terms of stories and on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat continue to get high engagement. And this is because our social media attention spans are continuing to shrink. We're swiping even faster, we're scrolling faster, and that sort of snackable content it's described as. So those memes, those short form videos, those infographics can really offer that sort of immediate sort of entertainment, that education, that information or enrichment promptly. It also prompts social sharing as well, because it's an immediate hit. So the immediate reaction might be to share or like or comment, and it does attract new leads as a result, because the more engagement you get on that content, the more people see it, and the more chance of getting leads and sales and so on. So these obviously, as we said, quote graphics, memes, infographics, short form videos, GIFs and so on. So we have some examples here of content. So this was the John Travolta sort of Grease to Pulp Fiction sort of scenario there, where people were leaving 2019, entering 2002, sort of after the pandemic and so on. So that got great shareability and virility over the internet over the past year. Quote graphics from Muhammad Ali and so on, and those sort of infographics. So those are the types of content that are going to be heavily invested in by businesses over the next year or so. And there's also going to be an emphasis on mental health and burnout prevention. And there'll be more and more businesses and influencers talking and having conversations around our relationship with social media and how it affects us. There was a poll recently done by Vibely, and they've seen that 90% of content creators, so the likes of influencers and businesses and so on, experience real social media burnout. 71% of them have actually considered quitting social media altogether because of the fatigue element. And as we said, we've seen lots and lots of different brands talking about mental health and well-being and setting digital boundaries and taking breaks from social media and so on. So that's going to be something that maybe you need to be part of the conversation with over the next year, and encouraging your audience to do. And Instagram is leading the way with that. They're trialing a new take a break feature, which has been tested in various countries around the world, which allows reminders within the app. If you've scrolled, for 20 minutes, an hour or so on, to receive sort of break reminders, during that sort of app experience. Most smartphones nowadays as well will have a time limit that you can set for Facebook and Instagram and any other, even gaming apps or whatever, which can basically stop working after you've used them for an hour during the day or whatever time limit. So we will see more and more of that over the next 12 months or so.